Hey guys, it's Fee. I just finished recording the vlog that came before this one, stating all the facts of what happened and where we were moving on to next, and I said that I was going to try and save all the emotion for a second video so that it didn't get to be crazy long. So here it is. This is the second video. This is the emotional video, so consider yourself forewarned. I'm going to try my best not to lose my mind and sob my way through this. I thought about doing a raw emotional video on either the day we found out or the day of the DNC, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because there's so much bouncing around in this head of mine. I was afraid of what would fall out of my mouth. And I know sometimes that's good for people to hear. But those raw emotions really can be crazy. And I've had a little bit of time. I've had a little bit of time to digest them. Obviously, not a lot. So I still don't know what's going to fall out of my mouth here. So I just want to put a couple of precursors in here. If I say anything that is questionable, I certainly do not mean to offend anybody. And I don't mean anything to come out hurtful or anything like that. This is just me. This is just what's in my heart and my head right now. I also want to put a warning that a lot of what I'm having a hard time with is more than just this hard, hurtful journey that we're all on. It's a lot of my problem is also a religion issue, a God issue. I'm not going to lie. And I've tried for a long time to be a God-loving girl, because that's the way I was raised. So, to my God-loving friends out there, Lee, Heather, Lisa, my good friend Jan, and anybody else that I may have forgotten, let me say I'm sorry in advance. Because my faith is gone right now, and I'm not quite sure if it's going to come back in one piece or if it's going to come back at all. So some of what I may say in here probably will not sound like the Fee that you know. And I'm sorry, I can't help it. I need to get this out. Okay, so that's my precursors. So now where do I start? We were so blindsided by this. You let your guard down and you think everything's going to be okay, and then you get smacked in the face. That's what it felt like. And first responses are always the worst. My first response was, why, God, why? And that night, the night before the DNC, I laid my head down on my pillow, and that's normally when I do my praying. I don't pray out loud, I kind of pray internally. Sometimes they're real prayers, sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes it's a list of people I'm pulling for. But I laid my head down and I didn't know what to say. I was raised Catholic. What kind of Catholic doesn't know how to pray? And the only thing that fell out of my mouth was, "Why do you hate me?" I know that's horrible, but that's the truth. That's what fell out of my mouth. And then after that I had nothing. I had nothing else to say. I've got a really, really big problem with my faith right now. With my relationship with God. And I need to stop for a second. I have another small precursor that I need to toss in here. This is probably going to touch onto something that I've never mentioned on here before. One of you definitely knows about it. I think two of you might know. There's one person that I find it so easy to talk to, and you know who you are. Sometimes I can't remember what I've told you and what I haven't. So there's one, maybe two people that know this. But my precursor about what my God issues are going to get into here, it involves something from my past that I've never mentioned before. And it's highly opinionated. I don't know a person out there that doesn't have an opinion about this subject that will get brought up shortly here. And I can appreciate that, but please be kind. Please be kind. Alright, where was I? My God issue right now that I'm having such a hard time getting past is, regardless of what religion you are, most religions teach you that our God is a loving God, that He isn't vengeful, He isn't mean, He doesn't try to teach you a lesson. What kind of loving God would allow this stuff to happen? To any of us, to people who all we want is a child to love. I can't make heads or tails out of that. I can't. I have a really, really hard time buying into the whole His plan ordeal anymore. It really, really aggravates me. And I know it's not supposed to, but it does. Because how could a loving God have a plan that puts all of us through this, yet willingly gives perfect, healthy children to undeserving people? Let's just leave it at that, undeserving people. what kind of plan is that? And I know in my religion, at least, we're not supposed to question that. We're just supposed to accept it and have faith that it will all make sense in the end and that everything has a reason. Maybe I'm weak and I'm okay with that, but I can't do it anymore. I just can't. Not right now. Maybe things will fall into place and I'll be all right, but I'm not all right now. I'm angry and I'm hurt and I'm upset and I'm jealous. I can admit that. I am woman enough to admit that. I'm sad. I'm depressed. All rolled up into one big time bomb. But I don't understand the whole plan thing. It really aggravates me these days. And the other thing is, some people, some good people, will say that maybe it was a blessing. It could be worse. If you're watching, you know who you are, who said this to me. And you're right. You're right. It could be worse, absolutely. At least through this, I still have a uterus where I could try again. There's people out there who could have went through the same thing I did on the same day I did, only their outcome was, sorry, you're done. And there's truth to that, there is. But my issue with it, what kind of a loving God gives that kind of blessing? The blessing of, I'm going to end this pregnancy because something is wrong with it, and you're going to be okay to try again. Versus, I'm going to end this pregnancy and your uterus is gone too. What about the other person on the end of that one? Why? Why? Why can't the right blessing, the better blessing, be given? Why can't we all just have the blessing that here you're pregnant and it's going to be your take-home baby? Why is it so hard? Why is that too much to ask? Why should I not question this? And I don't have an answer, and I have yet to hear an answer to that one that I can make heads or tails out of and be okay with. The only conclusion that I can come up with over the last 48 hours is he chooses not to have a hand in this. You know, when I got to the point of being with an RE, I said, and I think I said this in a vlog too, that I need both God and the doctors. I don't know if I could say that anymore. Because the only thing that makes sense to me right now is maybe God doesn't have a hand in this. That he chooses not to have a hand in this. I kind of have to believe that he has zero control over this, otherwise what kind of a loving God wouldn't just let this work? And you know, really we're talking about a basic human function here. Not even a human function, a function of any creature on this earth is to fornicate and reproduce. It shouldn't take this much energy. The energy should go to something else. They should just work the way it does for everybody else outside of this community. Yeah, I kept saying, you know, he chooses not to have any part of this. He can't. He can't. Because otherwise, how can I believe? I hate to say it that way, I really do. I was raised by a wonderful, God-loving person. And she is probably rolling in her wall right now as I say this. I should probably explain that. The term, you know, rolling in your grave. She's in a mausoleum, so I say she's rolling in her wall. My dear aunt is probably rolling in her wall right now because she's the one that raised me to love God and not question that everything will be okay. And now I find myself questioning God and questioning what I believe, and dare I say almost questioning believing in God. Saying those words out loud is hard for me. But there's a lot of truth to them right now. You know, all of this comes, kitty, all of this comes full circle because I don't have an answer to any of this, I really don't. Because even if I tie myself, God chooses not to have a hand in this. This is free will. This is the outcome of our environment and our generations and all sorts of various things that have led to certain people having these problems. And I just got even more angry that, well, why doesn't he choose to have a part in it then? See, it's bouncing around in my brain right now. It's crazy. Obviously, there's no answer. But, yeah, I start saying, why doesn't he choose to have a part in it then? And if he does have a part in it, why doesn't he choose me and the rest of my friends out here to be the recipients of wonderful little babies, and instead other people get chosen who don't even want it? We'll say that, want it. The people who put babies in garbage cans and have 15 kids just so they can collect more welfare, or have children and mistreat them. Why doesn't he choose to have a say-so in any of this? Because none of that can possibly be part of any good plan. How? The greater plan? So if he doesn't choose me to have, me particularly, to have one of his good blessings, then we start to get into the dangerous stuff. If he doesn't choose me to have one of his good blessings, why? What did I do that was so wrong? What did I do in a past life that was so wrong? What did I do in this life that was so wrong? You know the real reason why this all is so hard for me? Because it's very hard for me to ignore what seems like an obvious answer. What did I do wrong? I'll tell you what I did wrong. And please remember to be kind. I don't need anybody's ridicule. I have enough guilt for me and the rest of this state. For me and the rest of this world. What I did wrong? I was in college. I think I was 20 years old at the time. And I got involved with the wrong person. When I say the wrong person, he was older and he was married. Stupid. If anybody out there is watching this that's in that kind of situation, watch your back. That's all I can say. And I got in trouble. Unplanned pregnancy. I was one of those people that was handed something that they didn't deserve at the time. And I could have taken one of 3 roads. And I chose one that I have to live with for the rest of my life. Technically, obviously it wasn't just my choice. Really bad situation. He was married. I was kind of forced into it. Granted, he didn't put a gun to my head, but might as well have. I still could have made a different decision, and I didn't. So what did I do wrong to deserve this? That's what I did wrong. And people will tell me, that's not the way it works. God doesn't punish people for things like that. Don't believe you're being punished. That's not how it works. Well, how does it work? Tell me how it works. Because none of it makes sense. What I do know is this. That decision has never been harder to live with. Because if all of this never works, I'll have thrown away my own chance. And I'm the one that has to live with that. If I had a time machine and I could go back in time and change what I did, would I do it? But I don't have that option. The people that know that, like I said, they've told me that's not the way it works. God is not trying to punish you for anything. That's not the way it works. Well, tell me how it works. Because right now, I don't buy his plan, that this isn't his plan. I don't buy that certain things are a blessing and we just don't know it at the time. I don't buy that everything always happens for a reason. A lot of times it does, don't get me wrong. But all the time? Yeah, I don't know about that. And if I'm not supposed to believe that I'm being punished, if I'm not supposed to believe that I'm just not one of the people chosen to get a good blessing, a take-home baby blessing, if I'm not supposed to believe any of that, this is hard for me to say, but it's what I'm thinking right now. Maybe I just shouldn't believe it all. My head is just so messed up right now. It really is. This shouldn't be this hard. This isn't the way it's supposed to be. It's just supposed to work. But it doesn't for so many of us. I've tried so hard for so long not to believe that I'm being punished for old decisions. That it will never work because I threw away my one shot. Even though it was with somebody else. Or if it does work, it'll cost me part of my soul by the end. It doesn't matter whose issues cause it, mine, my husband's, both of us. And it is an us thing. It doesn't matter because it brings me right back to believing that this God dealt me these cards to lead me to this problem by His choice. This was His plan. But no, He's supposed to be a loving God. See the problem there? See the problem with God? Yeah, so in the end I keep saying, you know, maybe I'm better off just not believing it all. Maybe I'm better off believing that all of this is a moot point. It has nothing to do with anything. Because it just has nothing to do with anything. Well, what did I just say about having it cost my soul by the end, by the time it works? Well, there goes my soul, right? I don't know what else to say about that, but that's a lot of what's going through my head. And this is another IVF confessional, I guess. The first one I did had to do with needles. This one was a little bit more serious. Maybe I'm saying all of this out of bad emotions. I'm so hurt. And I'm angry. And I'm sad. And I'm depressed. And I want to know why. That shouldn't be asking too much. Just want to know why. No matter how shitty the reason is, just tell me why not me. Why not you? Why not us? It really bothers me. You know, the other thing that really bothers me with this is really bad circumstances that, again, nobody on here knows about. This is concerning a close friend of mine outside of this community. I know there's a chance that she could be watching this now. But earlier today she assured me that no matter what fell out of my mouth, she would understand. So if you're hearing this before I've had a chance to sit down and talk with you about this element of it, we did some talking earlier today, I hope you will understand if you're watching this. Circumstances are shitty. They really are. They aggravate me, and it brings me right back to whole God's plan, the whole God's plan thing. What I'm about to describe, it can't possibly be part of a loving God's plan. Let me explain why. This is nobody's fault. My friend, this isn't her fault. This is just the way things worked out, and I don't know why. And it sucks. The first loss that I have, the blighted ovum, shortly before that, I was still at the OB level, and that was when we were starting to do tests, and they weren't finding anything wrong. They weren't even finding anything wrong on my husband's end, even though we now know that we have male factor infertility, on top of occasional ovulation problems on my end, on top of who knows what else they might find now. But the original tests at that time were coming back okay, obviously completely full of shit. And they were trying Clomid on me, and I ended up being resistant to that, and then they were trying metformin on me, and all during this time, a really good friend of mine popped pregnant. I use that term because she was trying for quite some time. She was on the depot for practically a frickin' decade. When she came off of it, she had problems. And thank God, if you're up there, that things for her worked out. It took time. It took almost a year. Maybe a little more. I don't exactly remember. But things just worked out for her. She didn't have to get on any of the medicine and start doing tests and dealing with the doctors. It just worked. Thankfully, it just worked, because I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. And she was deathly afraid to tell me right off the bat at that time, because she said, "You were supposed to get pregnant first, not me. You've been trying longer." I told her, I said, "I can't expect the world to stop for me. We'll be alright." Well, I was wrong. We weren't alright. You know, in this community, we all support one another, and when something finally works for one of us, we rejoice together, we cry together. We send shower gifts to each other. I don't know if it's because we all know we're going through the same thing, and we want to support each other, and maybe that's easier when you don't have a front row seat, a live front row seat, that, you know, you're watching it happen to someone right next to you. I really think that makes it so much harder. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm weak. I'm okay with that if I'm the weak one. But, you know, people say, I've had people tell me that I underestimate myself. I do think I am reasonably strong in the head and the body, but in the heart, not so much. I get emotionally, I get hurt easily. A lot of things is hard for me to handle. And I couldn't handle her pregnancy. I couldn't be there for her because it hurt me so bad to watch that. And I couldn't control it. I couldn't control those emotions. It ate me up inside, but there was nothing I could do. It just hurt so bad. And I know the majority of that is ruled by jealousy, because you want to know why not you? Why not you? Why can't it just work for you, for us? That almost, it came very close to tearing our friendship apart, I think. But it didn't. And it put a strain on it. And afterwards, we talked through some of it, and we've been okay. We've been good. Well, now, the last couple of weeks that I was on bed rest, she'd been holding back a secret. Again, didn't want to say anything because she was afraid of what my husband and I were going through. She was afraid of how it was going to turn out. Hoping and praying the whole time that it would turn out. She was hoping and praying. Oh, you guys are hoping and praying for me. All those prayers. All those prayers. When she heard we got a heartbeat, she thought for sure we'd be okay. For sure she thought we'd be alright. And she announced on Father's Day that she was expecting again. And she was so happy. She was like, we can go through this together. This is going to be great. You're going to be alright. You got a heartbeat now. And I got to tell you, my first reaction was I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, what if something happens? I'm going to have to watch her again. I'm going to have to watch her again. Can I do it again? And the next day I was like, no, I'll be fine. This will work out. Well, why am I so worried? I haven't had a problem all week. We're gonna be great. Well, one of these days I gotta learn to trust my gut. Because here we are again. She's was only like, I don't know, a week, maybe a little bit longer ahead of me. We were completely unintentionally, we were almost timed bump buddies. And look what happened. What kind of God would do that? It wasn't bad enough for me to have a front row seat once. Now I got to do it twice. Man, that's rough. That's rough stuff. I don't know if I could pray anymore. I don't know if I could pray for a while. There's nothing that says I deserve a sign. But he's up there. If he's up there, I really could use one right now. There's nothing special about me that says I should get a sign. I'm sure there's a gazillion people in this world that have asked for a sign. But it would be nice. Because I'm so lost right now. I am so lost. So I hope to the universe that maybe in a small handful of months, you figure it's, because of the timing, everything, it's got to at least be 2, 3, 4 months. Something will work quick. It won't be as perfect, but maybe we can still be bum buddies. And maybe I'll only have to watch her for a little bit of time, and then I'll be okay. And if you're watching this, it's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. But I had to let this out. Well, I almost got through this without crying. And this was definitely another IVF confessional. So, I'm good. I'm done. Before I leave you guys, I want to thank every last one of you for the prayers. And for the love. And for the messages. And I'll talk to you guys later.